Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar, Google Chrome Browser and its Features. This session is a part of a series of free webinars offered every week or two by the Stark Portage Area Computer Consortium, or SPARC for short. SPARC is an information technology center in Northeast Ohio where we support about 30 school districts. However, this webinar is open to everyone and we would like to welcome all the people who have joined us live today who are watching the recording in the future. My name is Anthony Luskery, and I am the Technology Integration Specialist at SPARC, along with my colleague Eric Kurtz. Today's session materials can be found at the shortcut tiny.cc/sparc, SPARCC221. Again, that's tiny.cc/SPARCC221. And I'd like to encourage everyone to go to that site if you have not already done so. That link will take you out to our technology integration site, and from there you will see the live video stream, which will become the recorded video stream after today's session, help guides, links to other documents, and information concerning today's session. There's a session evaluation we'd appreciate you completing at the end of today's presentation. And then finally, there's a quiz. If you take the quiz, you can earn a certificate of attendance for 1 contact hour through the Stark County Educational Service Center. While you're at our site, please be sure to check out the professional development schedule of upcoming events, recorded trainings of past webinars. There's now approximately 20. Sign up for our SPARC Lines newsletter, and that will keep you always in touch and up to date with our latest technology integration information. And finally, if you need to get in touch with us, you can find our contact information under the contact menu link. This is just a quick look at the page ti.apps.sparc.org. Again, that's ti.apps.sparc.org. And this site gives you all of our material, including our recorded webinars and our future webinars. Today's session on Chrome browser, we will be covering a lot of material. I'm not sure we'll be able to get through it all today, so if we don't, there may be a Chrome browser 2 coming up in the future. I've created a guide for today's session called the Chrome Browser Help Guide. The first link is actually to Google's own official Chrome Help Center. And there's quite a bit of information there. I'm going to try not to duplicate that because you can read through that on your own. But there is a lot of good information there that you may want to take a look at. First, a couple things about installing and updating Chrome. Chrome runs on a wide variety of devices and operating systems. In many cases, you'll be able to install Chrome on your device. That includes all the Windows devices, most of the iOS devices, at least of recent vintage, and the iPhone, Android phones, Chromebooks, etc. So Chrome can be run on a variety of platforms and devices. Chrome should automatically update after it's been installed on your computer, and based upon your Android Play Store or OIS settings, it will update automatically. If it does not update automatically, you may notice in the upper right-hand corner of your screen a small 3-line icon that indicates, normally it's all gray, and that indicates that everything's up to date. If you see a green, orange, or red warning, that means that there's a possibility that your program is not updating on its own. So you might want to check and make sure it is. You may also see these indications if, for some reason, one of your add-ons or extensions, which we'll be talking about later, is not showing up. And again, that is near the top right-hand corner of our screen. We'll be referring to that many times today. We like to refer to it as either the short pancake stack or sometimes the hamburger on a bun. That lets you know that those 3 lines in the upper right-hand corner are the place that you go to the menu to change settings, go to find out more about Chrome, and to work with Chrome in a variety of fashions. The other item I want to mention is if you're logged into Chrome, which we'll talk about later, through your Google Apps account, you will also see another control. This is 9 little squares. These 9 little squares we'll refer to as the waffle button later on. So we have the waffle button and the pancake stack that we'll be talking about. Now to sign into Chrome, you'll need to go to Chrome. I'm going to just pop out of one here and into another one real quick so we can see an example. And I have the password saved for this particular account, so it's popping up automatically. I'm going to go ahead though and sign out of the account, and you'll see what it looks like if you're not signed into an account. You'll see this login screen, and you may have to get on here and choose to sign in with a different account. Each Google Apps account is best paired with a Chrome profile. Now you can combine them, but I really strongly suggest against it, especially if you're talking about personal accounts such as Gmail accounts and school accounts. So what you actually want to do is you actually want to create an additional profile. Now Google also refers to these as an additional person, which you'll see when we go through the setup. I have prepared a long guide that I'm not going to go through in complete detail today that will walk you through the process of setting up a new profile for each of your accounts. So again, if you have multiple accounts, there's a session in today's handout that helps you walk through the whole process of setting up separate profiles for each one. We're going to take a quick look at what part of that looks like by going into one of our browser windows here. We're going to go up to the 3 little bars. Again, that's the hamburger stack or the pancake stack. And we're going to go down to settings. Now, I have quite a few accounts, so you're going to see that I have a lot of people set up in my particular account. But if I was adding a new account, I would come down and click on Add Person. Simply choose one of the icons, and yes, unfortunately, you are limited to only these icons. Type in a description of what your account is going to be called, and you can also leave the button checked that says Create a desktop shortcut for this user. I strongly recommend that because it'll create a special shortcut that'll look like the normal Chrome shortcut, but it'll have the little picture embedded on the surface of it, so you'll be able to tell your accounts. So on my desktop right now, I have about 20 different Chrome profiles, and hopefully you won't have that many, but because we support 30 different school districts, I have quite a few different accounts. And by choosing a different icon for each one, it allows me to make sure that I know which one I'm in at the time. That can be very important, especially when you're doing a webinar. If you're using a Macintosh, you will not get the choice of create a desktop icon shortcut for the user because of the way Macintosh handles desktop shortcuts. So we're not going to add another person right now because we already have plenty of people in this process. But you'll notice that each of my accounts shows up here. If I ever need to go back and change something on an account, I can simply click on it and I can either remove the account or I can edit the account depending on what I need to do. So again, you can read through the entire section 5 of the help guide, and it'll walk you through setting up new accounts, new Chrome profiles. Now you might ask, well, why should I sign into a Chrome profile in the first place? Well, the nice thing about signing into a Chrome profile is it will link together your browsing data. Now that doesn't link together 2 accounts, that links all the data for your Google Apps account that you're in, plus it links together all of your bookmarks, your shortcuts that you might have, your extensions and add-ons, which we'll be talking about later, and it will also include your browsing history if you choose to. So you can choose what you'd like to link and what you'd not like to link. But the nice thing is to be able to walk in to a computer that you're not familiar with, log into Chrome using your own account, and you will see all of your shortcuts, your bookmarks, your extensions, etc. show up. Also, any applications that you've added will be available to you. So it's a good way to carry things around with you. In addition to Google Drive, which is cloud-based, I used to carry around quite a few USB drives to keep track of my documents. Well, the problem was it was very difficult to keep my bookmarks up to date on all my sites. Now, you could use social bookmarking sites such as Delicious and others, that were popular at the time. I think they've lost a lot of their popularity now that you're able to do this directly through your Chrome profile. So I think you want to sign into Chrome profile. Just a word of warning, if you're using someone else's computer and they are signed in with their profile, you need to be aware of that fact, and you're probably going to want to either sign out of their profile or open an incognito window and sign in separately. And we'll talk about incognito windows later in our session today. But again, I think you will really find it advantageous to set up a profile for each of your Google Apps accounts and to be able to sign into those whenever you'd like. So that completes the section on setting up a new account. What we want to do now is we're going to look at some of the other features of the browser, and we're going to start at the menu item because we were there before. So I'm going to click on the pancake stack again, and I'm going to walk you through sort of some of the things here. And this is going to be a tour today of the Chrome browser, so you may find some things you never realized were there. And of course, there's always the help and about section, which we always tend to ignore or forget about. And if you go there, you'll find a lot of good information. I've also provided some links on the resource page and in the document to some other third-party sites that give you a lot of information on using Chrome browser. You'll be very surprised as we go through today, and if you go to those resources, how many more things you can do with your browser as opposed to just browsing the internet. It's actually a very powerful tool that you can do a lot of things with. So let's just take a quick tour down our menu here, and you notice the first three have to do with creating a new tab, a new window, or a new incognito window. Each of these has a keyboard shortcut next to it. Some of the keyboard shortcuts are very easy to remember, and you might want to use them. It's very nice to be able to open a new window or open a new tab with a keyboard shortcut, but you can also open a new tab by going to the top of your screen, looking for the short gray, I call it a semi-tab because it's not really a full tab. We could click on that tab. We'll just go ahead and do that right now, and we'll see that it opens a blank new tab. Now you have a choice of what window opens up, whether you want it to open up a specific window or not. So we'll go through that setting a little later. Let's just go back to our settings real quick, and we'll see that after those three choices, we also have a choice for recent history and recent tabs and history. Now this is very nice if you've ever made the mistake before, and I know I've done it many times. You have a tab open, you're working on something, and you accidentally close that tab. And it's might be hard to find exactly where you're at on the site. So it's very nice that you can go into history and tabs. You can go to the recently closed section and click on any of those tabs, and it will reopen that tab. And in some cases, if there's multiple tabs you've closed, it'll open up all of those tabs at the same time for you, so you'll have those open again. Now I know some of you are one-tab people. My wife was very much a one-tab person. She was very intimidated by the fact that I would always have multiple tabs open. Up to a certain extent, depending on your computer, you should have no problem running many tabs on your computer. And the nice advantage of that is you can switch back and forth between many things and be more productive in that way. So if you're a one-tab person, I really strongly suggest you give it a try. And I think you might find that multiple tabs might be helpful to you in your process. But again, back to history. If we go to our history tab, it'll show me a history of the sites that I've recently been at. Now this is always dangerous when you just pop open your history, but of course I am a very fastidious browser and do not visit sites that I should not, so you won't see those. If I do want to clear my history, I can simply click on this clear browsing history or clear browsing data, and I might want to do that if I'm on a computer where I'm not the primary utilizer of that computer. When I'm done, I may want to clear the browsing history. Otherwise, the browsing history is a great way to go back and find something, and you can actually search through your browser history to find specific items. So if I wanted to find my Google Drive, I can simply come up here, click on search history, and it'll show me the instance of Google Drive. Now I know that's very easy to find that one, but sometimes you have a website that you've went to, you forgot to bookmark it, you forgot exactly what the name is, but you knew one key word. So you can go back and search through your history and hopefully find that item in that way. Again, going back to our tab, in addition to history and recent tabs, our next choice is downloads. Now, most of the time when you download something, you don't worry about it too much afterward because the file downloads, it opens up, saves it into your computer, and we'll talk about where it saves it a little later. But sometimes you might forget, You might have lost the file, you might have deleted the file, you might not remember where you put it. If you click on downloads, it will show you a history of downloads. Now, this isn't very exciting here, so I'll quickly flip over to another browser so we might be able to see a little bit more history here. And if I click on this, I think we'll see a lot more download history. Now you can see that I download files quite often. So let's go back to our original page here, where there was not much in the browser in the download history. Our next item is bookmarks. Now you notice when I hovered my mouse over the bookmarks menu item, it opened up a wide variety of things on the left. And the first two have to deal with the specific page you're on right now. The first one allows you to bookmark this page you can go to there to bookmark a page. You can use Control-D, or the shortcut that you may find most useful is simply at the end of the address bar, you will see a star. The star will be transparent if it has not been bookmarked, but if you want to bookmark it, you simply click on that star. It will create a bookmark. You can type in a descriptive name, or you can choose the name that it chooses for you. And you can even choose where in your bookmark storage you want to store it. So this is a way that you can add a bookmark, again, by clicking on the star, by going to the menu, going to bookmarks and choosing bookmark this page, or by using the keyboard shortcut Control-D. We're going to skip down to the third item here, and this is something that sometimes people are very confused by. They'll look at my browser and they'll say, Anthony, what are all these things across here? And I say, those are my bookmarks. They'll say, well, I don't have bookmarks showing up below mine. And that's because you can toggle on and off your bookmark bar by simply clicking on this menu item, or doing a Control-Shift-B will also toggle back and forth. So we can toggle it back on, back off, back on, back off. So it's a way that you can clear up more desk space if you don't want to see your bookmarks, or you can put them back up and have them available to you. Let's go back into bookmarks again. Probably the most important thing though in bookmarks is the Bookmark Manager. This allows you to work with your bookmarks, sort your bookmarks, find different things in your bookmarks by searching, sorting, etc. There's a special folder in the bookmarks folders, and it's called Bookmark Bar. Bookmarks Bar is a folder that contains the files that will show up, the sites that will show up in your bookmark list across the top on your bookmark bar. So if you want to utilize the bar, you need to put the items into the Bookmark Bar folder. Now, one of the things about the Bookmark Bar folder is it can hold many more bookmarks that will be able to be displayed on your computer screen. Depending on how wide it is, you will have a variety of bookmarks. Now, if I would have too many bookmarks in here, they just wouldn't show the later ones on the list. So they do go in order. So if you want to drag one in order, you can change it and have it show up earlier or later in the list. And you notice it's very dynamic. It does it immediately. One thing that both myself and I learned this from Eric is we like to shorten our bookmark names. By looking at the little icon and looking at the BH, I know that's Brain Honey, the LMS system. I know that WX is for weather, and I know that when I go to Greenbot, I can just look for the little green Android icon. So a lot of times I've shortened the names of my bookmarks, and that allows me to have many more on my desktop at one time. Another trick to having additional bookmarks is to actually embed a folder in your bookmarks bar folder in a subfolder. And when we do that, we could click on that subfolder and we can actually have multiple pop-out items. So we actually have extended our bookmark bar into many drop-downs. So we could do that, and you could have many bookmarks available through the bookmark bar. The other thing you can do from the Bookmark Manager is and it's sort of hidden. If you go over to Organize, you'll see that you can import and export bookmarks for your different browsers. So let's say you have more than one profile. You may choose to export your bookmarks from one and then import them into the other bookmark profile. The exported file is in the form of an HTML file, and it's very easy to transport, or you can even send it via email. You can upload it. You can do all sorts of things with it. But one of the things most people don't realize is the place to find the import and export. They probably look through the menu quite a bit. I know I've done that by accident, but you really need to go into Bookmark Manager, then go to Organize, and from there you can go in and choose to organize your bookmarks. Now, I could go on about the Bookmark Manager for a lot longer. We could talk about searching, putting things in order. You can use alphabetical searching if you sorting if you prefer. I'm just not that type of person. I like to have my things scattered all over the place, and I like to, I guess, have them in where I want to see them. So I don't have them in alphabetical order. Our next item is our Zoom item. And quite often when I'm doing a webinar, I'm doing a presentation, I'd like to be able to zoom in so my audience can see my items a little better. So I can zoom in or zoom out. You can also use the keyboard shortcut Control+ and Control- to zoom in and zoom out. The last control on the zoom is to go to full page mode. If you go to full page mode, it removes the top tabs and it removes anything else on your page, so you'll see just your browser show up. If you do that by accident, you may be very surprised. The way to get out of that is by pressing the F11 key on most computers, and occasionally on some of the devices you might need to press the escape key to get out of the full page mode. When you're using the browser on tablets and some of the phones, there may be that may be the default mode in which it goes into. So the default mode may be the full screen browser as opposed to the browser within a window. Just be aware of that, and that you can also zoom in and out. So we'll just stay zoomed in here for a little while because that's much easier for you to see. Unfortunately, Zoom does not control the top menu bar or the tab names at the top. So even though they're there, I can't zoom in on them. I can only zoom in on the items that I am showing in my window. I can't go up into the menu part. Let's go back to our settings again. You notice we've been clicking on this pancake and hamburger bun so much that I'm starting to get hungry for dinner this evening. Our next choice is print, and I used to print a lot more than I do now. I don't print a lot. I actually, because of Google Docs and Google Apps, I do most of my stuff in the cloud. So if I did want to print, I can simply click the print button. It'll bring up the typical type of print dialog boxes, and it lets us go ahead and print. Now, one of the things I want to mention about printing is that you do not want to use this print when you want to print out an individual email. It's much better if you go into the email itself, then choose the option on the side to print it, and that will just print just that email and not all the border and everything else around the screen, because you probably don't want that portion of your screen printed. So again, print will print the whole browser window. It doesn't just do an email. The next item, if you do not know it, is worth the mission of this webinar alone. This is probably the most helpful keyboard shortcut you can know, except for probably Control-Z. Control-Z, by the way, undoes what you've just done by mistake. So Control-Z is very powerful, but Control-F or Find is an extremely powerful keyboard shortcut, and it works on any page. So if I'm on a page and I come in here and I do a Control-F, I can jump to a word, and you'll notice that on Chrome, as I start typing in the top, in the upper right-hand corner, it starts telling me that there's 3 things that currently match the number of letters I've typed in, and it's highlighting those on my screen. So Control-F works by opening this small little find window, and you can start typing, and you can jump from one to another by using the arrow key. If you type something in that is not on the page, or you misspelled it, you will hear a little ding sound. I have my speaker muted right now so you don't hear the little ding, and you notice that it quickly shows 0 of 0 because there is nothing on this page that starts with these combination of letters that I was typing. So if you type a little too long, you won't see anything. If you type just one character, you'll start to see more things on your page. So Control Find works within your browser. It's a great way when you're doing searching. You find that page you think you want, and then you can't find specific words on it, so Control F works. Now here's a little thing also. Control F works in almost all computer programs, not just browsers. It works in the 3 major browsers or the 4 major browsers, depending which ones you use. If you use Firefox, it opens it in the bottom left-hand corner. Internet Explorer opens it somewhere near the right, and I don't remember exactly where Safari opens it. It also works in programs such as Word, Excel, PowerPoint, almost any program on your computer. Control F is your friend. It'll help you find things. So let's go back here to our menu again and continue down the list. Our next item is More Tools. Now the More Tools section includes a way to save a page. Now when you save an HTML page, you need to remember that it actually creates 2 things. It creates a file with an HTML extension on it, and it also creates a folder that corresponds with that. The folder contains things such as images from the page. So when you're saving an HTML page or a web page, it's not quite the same as saving a file. We don't have time to go into more detail on that, but just be aware of that fact. You can also do a couple other things from right here. We're not going to worry about those today. You also notice we can do cut, copy, and paste from here. Well, to tell you the truth, I've never done it from here because it's just so much easier either to right-click and choose those. Let's get into something where we can actually copy something. Right-click, choose my copy, or right-click and choose my print, depending on where I'm at. It's just so much quicker. You can also do the Control-C for copy, the Control-X for cut, and of course the Control-V to paste. So I don't think I've ever used this little choice right here. We're going to skip settings for just 1 second. We'll be back there in a moment. About and Help. About and Help, as I said earlier, the Help Center is very important. But let's click on the About Google Chrome and take a look and see what that shows us, because it does show us a few features. It shows us which version of Chrome we're running. And you notice that I'm running a beta version on this particular one, so you see the little beta mark there. You probably will not see that. That's just the mode that I'm testing out right now with beta. You also notice that you have the version number listed and also the operating system type. So I'm running a 64-bit Windows machine, so it says 64-bit, and it's saying I'm running version 46.0.2490. So your version number keeps increasing as new versions come out. Depending on the release track, and there are different release tracks. I'm on the beta. There's also a fast release and then the normal release cycle. Different people may be on different versions at the same time. And if you're teaching a session or teaching a class, sometimes the menu items will be slightly different in different versions of Chrome. So be aware of that if you're not using the same exact version number, you may not be seeing exactly the same thing. Now, occasionally, you will see that Google is not up to date. You're seeing right here that it is up to date. We're going to zoom in a little bit here. I keep forgetting to zoom in. You notice that Chrome is up to date. Occasionally, you might have to click on the button to choose to update it, but that's very rare. That's something that's not really done that much now, and you don't really do that to update Chrome. It's automatic. So again, that's the Help and About. I'm going to skip the relaunch Chrome in the Windows 8 mode because many of you may not be using Windows 8, and it's also, again, one of those full screen type modes, and it's actually more of a little windowed mode, which I'm not real excited about utilizing. It's very different. And of course, if we have exit at the very bottom here, we could also exit by clicking the red X at the top. Now, if I'm running multiple profiles at the same time, at the bottom of my screen, there will be multiple instances. And you can see right here, I have 4 different Chrome profiles right there, and then 2 more over here. So I actually have 6 Chrome profiles, and one has multiple windows open. I can see that by looking and seeing that there's actually more than one window open there. So I can jump back and forth through these to the different ones. If I close one, it won't close all the other ones. By clicking the X will close all the instances just of that are on that window. So if I have multiple windows open in the same profile, it'll only close that particular window. So you need to make sure, if you're using a Macintosh, you need to make sure that you use the Apple key and the Q key to completely quit the program. Otherwise, it just closes the window. It doesn't close the program completely. So let's go ahead and look at a couple other things on our computer here. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to bring up a little tour that I put together for you. And again, this is in the guide, and it's also available on a separate document. So let me just pop this open here. We'll just zoom in a little bit. By the way, I'm going to use this control right here so I can hide the menus so you won't see as much on the menu bar. And you'll notice now that it's much larger. The reason why I wanted to open this one in a tab is I've labeled everything from A to, I think I went up to R on this particular one. So there's quite a bit of labeling on here that'll help you find different things on the site. So let's just talk about these. And as we do, I also demonstrate them on the live browser, which I'm within here. So in addition to the static images you see on your screen right now or in your guide, we'll actually go out and visit some of these. So let's start with A, and A is a tab. And our current tab that we're utilizing is usually a light or white color as compared to the gray or darker color. Now, if you choose your if you change your theme, this may change drastically. So just be aware that this is the default theme, but if you change your theme, it might be different. But again, this is simply a tab, as you can see at the top. So A represents a tab. B represents that button we used earlier, which I called the short tab that opens a new tab. So you notice as I hover my mouse over it, it says new tab. C is probably one of the most important things on our browser, and that is called the Omnibox. People at Google Chrome refer to this as the Omnibox. You might think of it as the address bar or the search box, but the reason why they call it an Omnibar is it actually can handle multiple functions. And we'll talk about some of those functions in just a moment here. I just want to show you where it's at on the real live browser. It's right up here at the top, and we can simply type in a website address and go to a website. Now notice how it auto-completed for me. I have turned on the ability for it to autocomplete, and it found that very quickly. So I did not need to type a lot in to get to that site. Now it's showing me my complete web address, and it's showing me that it's a secure HTTPS site. So you can get a lot of information from the URL box. Now, I also do a session on searching. You can watch those two webinars on searching 1 and searching 2. And I stress how important it is to be aware of what the URL is as opposed to what the name of the site is. So that's one of the things that you need to be aware of, is that is an address bar, and it is also a search bar. And depending on which way you put it in there, you may get different results. So if you put a www dot in front of it, or HTTP in front of it, you're going to go directly to a site. If you just type some words in, even though they might be the site name, it might do a search instead. So just be aware of that. As we continue down our choices for Omnibox, you'll find out that not only can it have the web address, it can also search. So let's do a little quick search here. I'm going to search for one of my favorite words. It's always one of my things about searching is I always tell people you probably don't want to search for a single word because it probably won't find what you want, and you might be embarrassed by what it finds. But I know that locomotive is a fairly safe word to search on. So you notice that what happened is when I typed in the Omnibox, it actually opened a Google window, and it actually did a search in Google for me. And it used Google search because that's my default that I have set up currently. You can change that default when you type in the Omnibar. It can search in another search engine such as Yahoo or Bing or other search tools. The second thing that our search bar can do is it can preview what page we're going to. So if I start typing in something and I have a shortcut to it, you'll see that it'll be a little bit different. So I'm going to go to this one site called Glass Buttons. Now you notice as I start typing up there, on the side, there's a little different icon in front of each of these. Whenever the icon is a star, that means that it's a bookmark. So that's somewhere, I've had this bookmark somewhere else, so it's guessing it's a bookmark. When you see the little searching sign, the little magnifying glass, that means it's searching for a word. Now the other items you might find at times, you'll see a little clock, which means it's sites that are in your browsing history but are not bookmarked. Looks like a little face of a clock. And there's another one that'll look like a globe. A globe refers to related sites that you might find that are related to what you're searching for, but are not the same site. And then the final type of icon you might see is a small box, and that box represents a web app that you've installed. And you can actually launch some of the web apps directly from the Omnibox. So the Omnibox can also be used as a tool to launch an app that you might have installed on your computer. In addition, there's more. The Omnibox can do some other tasks. And for that, I'm just going to call it a taskbar. We'll go through some of the tasks it can do. One of the tasks it can do is mathematical operations. So we'll start off very simply. 1 plus 2, and you notice that it gave us a 3. Now you notice that 3 popped up when I hit the enter there, but watch when I start typing this in. It actually anticipates it right below my prediction window. So as I type this in, notice that it shows me 4 before it even pops anything open on there. I didn't have to press enter before it showed me 4. Now you can do very simple math, you can do very complex math. And I recently did a post on our website, and there was a post on the Google Guru, which is a very good site for reference, and we have links to that on our site, that you can do graphing calculator type of functions where equals y times x minus 1 or cosines or things of that nature, and you will actually see those show up. Now, unfortunately, I'm not a real math person. I mean, I learned a lot of math in school, and I've forgotten a lot of math, but I can go in and do a cosine and get a graph. So notice when I did a cosine for y, it gave me a typical sine wave graph in this case. I'm an amateur radio operator, and I recognize that as the same type of thing you get with a radio signal. So notice we can do math from our taskbar. One of the other things we can do is unit conversion. We can do things like cups in a gallon. And notice it tells me right here before I even hit enter that it says 16 cups, US cups in a gallon. Let's try it in a liter here. Let's change the top of this, and you'll notice that it tells me there's 4.2267528 4 cups in a liter. So you notice how it's converting. I've never pressed enter. These are all showing up in the prediction area below the Omnibox. Another thing you can do with the Omnibox is you can set a timer, and you can have it do a countdown. So we can start counting down here, and you can have it make a sound for you, or you can have it pop something on your screen. So you can use that as a timer. You can also tell how long it was if you start it and then stop it. So I was talking for about 7 seconds there when I had it running. In addition to setting a time and reminders, you can also add events directly to your Google Calendar from here. You can type in a time and a location and things, and enter it into your calendar. It's not the way I typically do it. I find it's easier just to go to the calendar, but you can do it there. You can also select other search engines from the Omnibox. Now let's try this. Go up here to the Omnibox. Let's right click on it, and you notice we can go down here to where it says edit search engines. So by going to edit search engines, it'll pop up a screen. It'll say, which one of these do you want to set as your default? You notice I have Google says my default right now, but I can simply switch back and forth by just going to the Omnibox, clicking on the edit search engines. So it actually acts as a setting tool also. And I want to show you while we're there, this is very good because it shows you there's other additional settings that you can only get to by typing things in the Omnibox. Now, I'm really not going to do that today because many of those things, and they're not the things that are showing up right now, but many of the things that you can get by typing in a setting in here are things that you don't want to do unless you're very, very familiar with them. So I would leave these type of commands for people that are more aware of the different types of commands you can put in. So you can run into a lot of trouble if you're not sure what you're doing. So please, if you know about that, please feel free to use it. That's sometimes the only way you can set settings in Chrome is by going and typing it in the Omnibox. So the Omnibox does many, many things, and we just took a quick view of them right there. Now let's go back to our settings again. I know you're going to get tired of this, but we're going to go get some more pancakes. I had some wonderful pancakes this Sunday for breakfast. I had some buttermilk, so I was able to make some buttermilk pancakes. And this time we're going to go down and go to the area we skipped before, and that's the settings section. The settings section is actually settings for multiple things. You notice on the side here we can go back to history by clicking on it. We can go to extensions, which we'll do in a few moments here. And we can also go to settings, and notice it's highlighted that we're in settings right now. And we could also go to about. We're going to go through the basic settings section. The first one is where we can choose what we want to sync when we sign in with our accounts. So if I sign in somewhere, I can choose what I want to sync and what I don't want to sync. So for example, every time I go to a new computer, I might not want to sync all my history because I might not want to bring all my history along. I may not want to sync my passwords because I don't want someone to get my password from that computer. So I can choose what I want to sync each time I log into Chrome. Now you notice the passwords can be encrypted, so you don't have to worry as much about the passwords. So all this material can be synchronized when you sign in. If you decide you want to disconnect your Google account from your settings, you could click on this button. You can also manage your sync data through the Google dashboard. We'll move on to the next setting here now. It says on startup. Now what happens on startup is you can have three different choices. You can either open a new tab, and it'll just be a blank tab. You can continue where you left off. So the last time you closed Chrome, it'll open up the same page or pages that were open when you closed it. That can be, I find that somewhat confusing sometimes because I might have had 50 pages open, and if I would do that, it's going to reopen 50 pages or 50 tabs again. I tend to use the third option, and that's to open a specific set of pages. Now you can click here and set the pages and choose what you want, or you can come down to the setting where it says use current pages, and it will just gather up all the tabs you have open right now and say, here's what you want. You can even add a new one if you want to. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to click cancel because there's more pages than I wanted. But you can see I can either set it manually, or I can remove one of these, or I can use the current pages. So there's a wide variety that I can do. I can add a new page here if I wanted to add, make sure Google opened up. I can make a Google search window pop up each time. So again, that is on startup. Now this is also referred to in many cases, and Google doesn't say it here, but as your home page. And you'll see that our home page setting can be shown so that it shows up on the screen. And when we click on that, it would go to the same page as startup. And we'll get to that in a moment. And very quickly, as we go to our next section, there's a session on getting themes. We'll skip that for the minute, but we're going to go to this next checkbox and we're going to click on Show Home button. And you notice now that we have the new Show Home button, it shows up at the top of our browser, just to the left of the Omnibox. And if I would click on that, it would reload the pages that we had set on startup. So the pages we set in on startup would open up. Now, if we do it through the Home button here, it won't close the other tabs. It will just open those in addition to what we already have open. The theme section, I'll let you explore on your own, but there's many, many themes, some of which are very, very, very beautiful. Some are very nice to use. Some of them are to the point where it becomes somewhat even confusing to use them because the colors sometimes drown out some of the features. And in a school setting where I'm showing multiple people things, I tend to keep my theme the same. Now, one exception to that is on my email, my Google email, I usually set the theme with a different color for each of my different accounts so that I can tell real quickly that I'm in a specific account by the background color, so I don't accidentally send an email to the wrong account. So that's a specific theme just for the email, but this theme is for the entire browser. Now, if you ever get a theme that you don't like, fortunately, right next to it is a resort to default theme. So let's take a chance here. We'll go out and grab a theme. And let's see, I think my grandson loves Minions, so we'll grab the Minions. We'll add it to Chrome, and we'll notice that we will get some changes here. And if you look at our top menu bar, our tabs have gotten very confusing for me because they're now white on a multiple set of colors. And we notice we now have different information here, and we have different colors everywhere. So I've decided that I really don't want that, so I can click undo here, or I could go back to our original screen and click the reset button. I'm just going to click undo here. We'll go back to settings, and again, if you want to change themes, you can do it right there. You can also design your own themes and share them with others. Some school districts do that, where they can design a theme that they utilize on all their browser pages so that every browser, when you open it, has the same theme. Our next section is our search section, and guess what it refers to? The Omnibox. And remember, in the Omnibox, we were able to right click on it and choose our default search engine. We can also do it through this manage search engines, but we can also do it just by simply going to our Omnibox and clicking on the right click and going to edit search engines. Now below this are the people. Remember I talked about earlier, when we have a different profile, we would add a person, so I have quite a few people on my list. It looks like we're at the bottom of the page, but we're really not at the bottom of the page, because there's a section at the bottom that says show advanced settings. So let's go ahead and click on that, and you'll see that we have a variety of things. We have content settings, which pops up another window, and we can go through all those. Some of these you need to be careful that you don't change what you don't want, or you won't be seeing pages that you think you should be seeing. So please take this with a grain of salt. Make sure you read the help before you make changes in this section. Now some of them are very simple, such as the microphone, asking you whether you want to use it, whether whenever the mic is being requested by the site, that it asks you first. So I definitely would not want to go to a site where it would open up my microphone and start hearing my voice without letting me know that. So I've set that so that it always has to ask me. Same thing with like camera. I don't want to go to a site where it's suddenly taking pictures of me, especially if I'm having a bad hair day, which are most of my days. So we're going to close the content settings, and we're going to come down here and look at a couple other things. Right below the content settings are what are called the privacy settings. These are all things where you can do that change the way Google Chrome reacts when you go to a new page or when you do a search. Some of these things you can turn off. So if I don't want to send usage statistics, I can turn it off. If I do not want to send a do not track request to all my browsing traffic, I can do that. And it warns me, it says, if you do this, that means that this will take place. So when you do these, a lot of them have help windows that pop up for you when you do it to let you know what you might want to do if you enable it and what would happen. I'm going to say no thanks there. Our next section is passwords and forms, and they're actually two very different parts. The first one is referred to as forms or autofill. Autofill allows you to fill out web pages with a single click. And what you can do is you can manage your autofill settings by going in there, putting your information in, like such as your name, your address. You can even put in credit card information. And it is secure as long as you keep the security of logging into your browser, your Chrome browser password, a secure password. But autofill will also work if you're starting to fill out a form somewhere and you start typing in your first name. It might guess and say, hey, do you want to use autofill to put in your last name and your email address, etc., etc. So you can manage autofill to do as much or as little as you want, or you can completely turn it off by unchecking the checkbox. The next section offers to save your web passwords. Now, Anthony, are you really going to click on this? Yes, I am. And I'm going to show you that, unfortunately, on this one, I have no password saved, so I didn't have any problems clicking here. But what I could do is I could search for a site. So if I wanted to find my eBay password, I could type in here eBay. I could pop that, hit enter, and it would show me my eBay site. Well, it's not going to find my eBay site because I don't have eBay set up on this. I don't have a password saved on here, so it just went away. But what you can also do is when it does show you the passwords are actually blanked out, and you have to click on show password. And when you click on show password, it's going to require you to not only be able to log into your Chrome profile, but actually to log into the computer security. So I'd have to type my username for Windows in there, my password for Windows, before I'd actually be able to see it. So it does require two passwords to actually see my other passwords. But you can tell that you don't even want it to offer to save passwords. And anytime you do encounter a password, it still gives you the option of saying, yes, you want to save it, no, you don't want to save it, or no, I never want you to ask me again because I never want to save it for this site. So when I'm working on a public computer, the first thing I usually do is click on anytime it's asked me, I say, no, I don't want to ever save this password, and it won't prompt me for it again. Web content, you can allow the web pages to show exactly the way they were designed by the people that put them up, or you can customize them and choose your own fonts. And if you do this, if you're really a person that can't stand serif fonts, you can force all the fonts to be sans serif. And if you're a person that loves serifs, you can force them all to be serifs. If you do that, sometimes the pages look rather odd though, because they're not set up the same way the person designed the web page. But some of these are very helpful for people that have accessibility problems, where you can have the page automatically zoomed in and be a larger page automatically each time you go to it without having to go to the zoom controls. We're going to skip network settings, proxy settings. Please don't touch this unless you're very aware of what it does. You can cause many problems and not have connectivity. You can also change your language. I wouldn't change that unless you are changing to a language that you understand, because otherwise it'll make it difficult for you to get back and change some of your settings. And speaking of changing settings, we'll talk about how you can revert all of them at the very end here. Here's where we have our download settings, and I can choose to change that to wherever I want it to be, or I can choose to have it ask me each time. HTTPS, please skip that. That's above the range of this session. And Google Cloud printing, you can manage how you can print to the Google Cloud. This is very important for Chromebooks. We're not going to talk about that today. That's a good subject for Chromebooks in the future. And we're not going to worry about any of these other settings, except for the very last one. The last one allows you to reset all your settings to Chrome the way it was when you installed it. Now, it doesn't do it for every profile. It just does it for this particular profile. But be very careful about utilizing that unless you're really sure that you've messed up things so bad that you need to reset everything. On the left, we're going to go to our next section on extensions. And extensions are little add-on or helper programs that we can add to Chrome. And they can do a lot of different things. For example, there's a dictionary. I don't have a lot of them set up on this one. Read Write for Google Chrome, which is pretty neat. Speak It, a highlighter. I have some other ones on here. So you can have a variety of these little helper tools or extensions. And the way you get more new extensions is you simply scroll all the way to the bottom, click on Get More Extensions, and you can type in the extension and go from there. I'm not going to talk much more about extensions today because we have a whole webinar on extensions and add-ons for Google Chrome that you can visit on our webinar page. Again, ti.apps.sparcc.org, and you can go to the recorded webinars and you can watch the one on extensions and add-ons for Google Chrome. Let's go back to our tour here again and continue down our tour. So we've got a little ways through our tour. Let's speed it up here because we're getting close to the end and I want to get a lot more of this in. E shows us our extensions. So there's our extensions in the upper right hand corner. D, we've talked about many times, is our pancake button or waffle or pancake or hot dog hamburger button, whatever we want to call it, takes us to our settings. J is our bookmark bar, which we toggled on and off before earlier. And K is our other bookmarks. So if you have bookmarks that don't fit on your bookmark bar, you can always click on this other bookmarks and see your other bookmarks by going there. On this particular profile, I don't have enough bookmarks to have that show up. It would show up over here. L. So let's look at L here. L is very important because L is something that you usually don't notice. And let me try going to a page where we can see it a little better here. We'll just open up a web page. And when we're on a web page, you'll notice that anytime we click on a link or hover over a link, down in the bottom left-hand side of our screen, we'll see what our link is showing us. By the way, if you saw that fly up on the right there, that's an example of an extension called Ghostery. Ghostery actually shows me that not only when I go to this page am I seeing this page, but I'm actually visiting all of these pages which have links on here. And you notice a lot of them are advertising pages. Some of them are pages for searching, for analytics, for what following things. And Ghostery lets you control what pages can be opened or not. So Ghostery is this little icon up here, and it said there was 31 links on this page. Ghostery is a whole nother session in itself, so we're not going to cover that. But I just want to show you that when I hover my mouse over a link, it shows up in the bottom left of my screen. So that's L. Let's move on up our list here. I skipped a couple, so let's go back and catch them. F is your forward and backward buttons on your browser, right up here. G is our refresh button. It's a circle. We can also press the F5 key on most computer keyboards. On a Chromebook, there's actually a key that has the same icon on it in the place where the F5 key would be. So that's our refresh button. And we saw our home button a little earlier. That's H. And let's move over to this side. P is our user account name if we're logged into a Google Apps account. That only show up if we're logged into a Google Apps account. And again, mail brings us to our email for Google Apps. Again, that would not show up. I'm going to talk about Q though. Q is 9 little squares in a square, and we refer to this quite often when we're doing our training as the waffle button. It looks like a little waffle and goes well with a stack of pancakes, so you can have your choice of 2 different breakfasts. The waffle bar, or Q, allows us to open up different applications in our Google Apps. So when we're logged into Google Apps, let's just get to all of our Google Apps, such as Sheets, Mail, Calendar, etc., by clicking on the waffle bar. So the waffle button is waffle bar, the waffle button. The waffle bar would probably have a lot of good toppings on it, but this is just the waffle bar. And we are now to R. R is a little circle with a little, looks like a little clock in there, a little bell in there, and that's a reminder. And that's mostly used for Google Plus. If people join a Google Plus profile, or if they post something new to one of your Google Plus sites that you monitor, it'll bring up a little message there, and when you hover your mouse over it, it'll show you the messages. My favorite one is when my son shares pictures of my grandchildren. If I hover over that, it'll say there's some new pictures from my son. So that's always a nice thing to see. It's a nice reminder. And we're almost out of time here, so we're going to run through a couple other things very quickly here. And we may have to do Chrome 2 at a later date. In the handout for today, the Google Chrome Browser Help Guide, there's a whole section at the end on web apps and extensions. So you can go through that. There's a couple lists here, plus there's a bunch of links to sites that rate or have suggestions on extensions. And a lot of these are for educational type purposes. And then let's go back real quick and close things down here by going to our technology integration site. Again, that's ti.apps.spark.org. And again, the link for today's session is tiny.cc/SPARCC Spark 221. The recorded video will be available at that site after today's session. And we can just take a quick look at it here. If you haven't found it yet, it's right here. Hopefully you've been watching from this page the whole time. But you'll notice this is the Chrome browser guide that I've been working from today. So this is the document for today. And then we have the interactive tour, which I've just taken you through in document format. And then I have a whole section here describing how to set up a profile. And I know it's a little involved, but you just follow it step by step and you should have no problems. I have 3 very good web resources here. The How To Geeks website on best tips for using Chrome. I have one on 11 quick tips and tricks for the Google Omnibox, and 10 popular Google Chrome tips from Computer Hope, which is a really interesting help site out there that you can utilize. Right below that, there's a section we'd love to have you go to, and that's to do a session evaluation. We really appreciate when people do the session evaluations because it gives us a better idea of what we need to do to keep improving these sessions. Please also feel free to provide feedback there on sessions that you would like to see in the future. Eric and I are always looking for subjects that are of interest to our webinar watchers, so please feel free to do that. And then finally, at the bottom of the list, we have the quiz. And again, if you go to the quiz link form, after this, you can take the quiz, and if you get an 80%, you'll get a certificate emailed to you with 1 hour of contact from the Stark County ESC. Again, thank you for taking the time to watch this session. We hope to see you over the coming weeks for more educational technology webinars. And again, if you want to find out the details on that, if you go back and you go down to our site and then go to home, you can go down and subscribe to the Sparklines newsletter. So again, thank you very much for watching the session, and good luck, and have a very safe time using Chrome so you become a more efficient and effective user, and you can impress your friends and neighbors. Thank you.